Former President Jacob Zuma's sentence has been remitted and he will not be returning to prison. That announcement was made this morning by Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola and National Commissioner Makgoti Tubakale. Let's get the views of legal analyst Melusi Xulu now, who joins us now live. Mr. Xulu, thank you very much for your time. Of course, to start off with regards to this particular case, especially those who are against what the state has decided, the issue was a problem on the side of the state to start with the medical parole. So it was the state's, responsibility to fix it, right?
Good afternoon, myself and the viewers at home. I agree with you. It was for the state to fix because if you remember, the Pretoria High Court gave a judgment that the medical parole was unlawful and was set aside, and they stated that the president taken back to prison.
And in terms of this remittance that they're talking about, how often does it happen? How many times does the president, get the opportunity to do it? I'm asking you this question because a lot of people are clearly citing this as something political. Some political parties saying President Cyril Ramaphosa put the ANC above the law and above the country. Can we really look at it that way, or does the remittance happen anyway? And, was it expected at this time of the year?
Let's look at the law first. If you go to the Constitution, 84 subsection 2 paragraph J, it says that the president is empowered to make remissions for offenders and also make remittance or remissions. And then, sorry about that. And then,
no problem.
If you look at this, it was also done by President Zuma in 2012, the 6th of July 2012, for 45,000 prisoners. It was also done by the former president as well, Thabo Mbeki, in 2005, in May, for 35,000 prisoners. This time it was a special remission of 9,488 prisoners. So it's not a new thing. It's a constitutionally empowered right that the president can do for prisoners.
What do you say to people who keep bringing back the argument of, powerful people being above the law? Has that not been exhausted by now, with this particular case at least?
Well, it's a parallel program that just coincided with the release of the former president, and obviously there will be complaints. And I just read that the Action SA also stated that it's a mockery of justice, but at the end of the day, obviously it has happened. But my other question is, at the end of the day, if you look at one of the cases we usually quote when it comes to sentencing, as versus Zin, it states that whenever a sentence is done, look at the circumstances of the accused. We also look at the interest of society and the crime that he has committed. The remission is for low-risk offenders. Yeah. So obviously the former president, the low-risk offender. What more should have been done? That's the question that one would ask. Is it really that the opposing parties, they really wanted the president or the former president to stay for 15 months at his age? We also look at all those things. He has also, remember, although it was deemed to be unlawful, the medical parole, he has also been in a restricted environment and he has served that term. So, the prerogative or the decision of the commissioner was that at least he can go under the remission, which is empowered by the president.
And of course, at the end of the day, the Constitutional Court, in its decision or its judgment to side or to uphold the decision of the High Court, it did say that at the end of the day, the decision lies with correctional services. So I guess for now, South Africans just let sleeping dogs lie. The law has taken its course.
Yes, remember there's separation of powers as well, Marcelo. There's the legislation, the judiciary, and there's the execution. So at the end of the day, what happened was, in the first judgment, on the fifth order, the Pretoria High Court is said that whatever medical parole sentence that the president has been under, it must not count. But the Supreme Court of Appeal corrected that and said, no, that decision cannot lie with the courts. So the execution has decided the president was sent back as it was ordered, but the right to say whether he has stayed under the parole or served, thank you for that. It has stated that he will go under the remission. So now I think the issue will be questioning the decision on the remission. But if the decision is questioned, will the decision of the other 9,487 prisoners also be questioned as well?
That's where I was coming, that if we're going to question this particular remittance, then it means that we should question everyone. And I guess that's why the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, and as well as Action SA is saying that all those prisoners should be questioned, because it means that the president is letting go of people who are dangerous to society. But as we heard from Ronald Lamola, these are people who have, they're not in jail for serious crimes. But just very quickly and lastly, in terms of, usually when a sentence is imposed on someone, legal practitioners such as yourselves would always say this will help in deterring the public on doing wrong things. It'll also help with the public's confidence in the criminal justice system, right? Today's decision, does it do that for us? Because what else, what else were we going to gain with the former president going back to prison physically?
As you know, myself, I always like to quote the law when I'm discussing these things. As versus Rabi is still relevant. It's a 1975 case. It says the sentence must fit the criminal and the crime. It must be fair to the society, and also it must be blended with a measure of mercy to, obviously, the accused. So I think that is one of the principles we use, that it must be fair in looking at what crime did the accused commit. If it's a low-risk offender, why would you want him to stay for longer than necessary? Number two, one of the issues or one of the reasons for remission was because of the overcrowding and the dilapidation of certain prisons. So the reason was to make sure that the prisoners are not overcrowded and they stay in an unhealthy environment, so that also their dignity is respected. But it's for low-risk offenders. I think it's highlighted. It's for low-risk offenders. So this issue is not as if the former president made at someone in this particular instance. And just to put a little before you let me go, remember, the reason why the president was committed to prison is also debatable. Yes, the Constitutional Court said he did not respect the commission, and then because of that he was sent to jail. But there's also another school of thought that says, but there was no trial for this sentence.
Well, there was, of course, the majority decision by the Constitutional Court at the time. And that debate for now, I think, is over because of the decision that has been taken by Correctional Services and the President himself. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on eNCA and for your time. That was legal analyst Melusi Xulu.